Chapter 15, and I think I can get through this one relatively quick. This one is not packed with action, but there is a lot that is expressed and some things that are reminded to the reader that we already knew, but it's just kind of building that foundation. Now we have Whiskey Jack and a group of the Rivy Scouts discover these massive reptilian bones and identify them as Ch.15 Kell Hunters. They recognize it from being from Morn, these bones, because of the black sort of obsidian dust that is found on them. We have, and I'm not going to get everything, but there are just certain things that I marked down. Silver Fox, Corlat, and Kruppa join them, and Silver Fox reveals that the giant wolves that killed the demons were Talan I. Remember, they're kind of in front of everyone. They're kind of going, and the whole Malazan army is not with them in this moment. They're kind of witnessing this, and it's really interesting. Now, she knows that she can also summon these Talan I. Calor accuses Silver Fox of hiding information, which we already knew that, suspects that she might turn on everybody, and even, I thought this was interesting, and I've had my eye on Silver Fox. Well, I think everyone has had their eye on Silver Fox. And even the Maiba, however you pronounce it, even she is starting to kind of wonder if Calor is right. So I tend to wonder too, as crazy as Calor is, I think yes, he is deceptive, and I think yes, he wants the Silver Fox gone for appropriate reasons. I mean, from his point of view. But it does seem like there is a lot of danger in Silver Fox's hands, at least to do some things that might not be in the best interest of other characters that we really like. These books are so complex. There's just so many moving parts, which I like, but it can be a little bit tricky that way. But I do wonder about Silver Fox. Now, Silver Fox also expresses to Corlat that her mother needs to have her eyes on her, or people need to have eyes on Corlat to protect her, which kind of maybe conflicts in a way, in some ways, with other things that we read. At least I am confused, even though I am not compelled, but intrigued. Anyway, Calor explains that the Ch.15 were led by matrons, these dino dudes, led by matrons. And it's interesting because we know that the Teniscauri are also led by these matrons that, very matriarchal, as well as the Ch.15, and led by matrons who would magically kind of give birth to these different types of offspring that were bred for different things. And I did wonder that because, maybe not in that specific way, but I figured, well, how would they build these buildings if they all had these sword arms? So obviously those ones were meant for other things, or had their arms ripped off and fused again. But it sounds like maybe they were just kind of born with sword arms, which seems rough. But it's really interesting. They also had these short-tailed ones that would stand more upright, and those were the ones who kind of started to stir things up and cause this rebellion and this kind of civil war between the Ch.15. And I always sort of wondered, if they are more powerful in a way than the Jagat, what happened But of course, it was kind of this destruction from within, at least partially, as far as I can understand it, because of these short-tailed ones who did not. They were rebellious to the matron, and I think my guess is that it is either one of these short-tailed dudes that is giving Talk all these hugs, or another one, another kind of offspring. But I'm guessing that it's probably one of these short-tailed ones. Maybe I should already know that, but I haven't picked that up. That's just my guess. That is one of these ones. And in desperation, while this is happening, we know, at least they're guessing or expressing, that one of these matrons, or the matron, I think the matron from the prologue, right? The matron that was just found in kind of by that tower at the base, within those concentric circles and where the warren was, that she was probably the one who, in her desperation, sought to harness this warren of chaos, thinking that it would be able to that she could assert her control over it, which doesn't make any sense because it's chaos. You can't, it's antithetical to control. But, I mean, she did her best, I guess. Now we have these, we also know that a matron must be still alive and under the control of the Panian seer. Only because only a matron can, control the Cal Hunter, which I think is really cool. I don't know if that means they are all kind of massive reptilian dudes, but it sounds like they are of different types. I don't know if that. I wonder. I don't know what she looks like. I'm interested in that part. If she is very human. I know this child of the first seed, Anaster, has his mother. Is that the original Ch.15 lady? Because she's just a lady, if that's the case, right? Anyway, lots to wonder about. I honestly don't know how much of this I am supposed to be understanding better than I am, or if I'm just making guesses, or if things are obvious to you, but I'm having fun with it anyway. Let's see, flipping through. Oh yeah, we get to a sequence, and sorry, I'm going to try not to yell in the microphone so it pops. We get to a sequence of the Ch.15 Shamal oppressing the Jagat. We get that explanation that they came first, then the Jagat, and then some of the Jagat who when the Talanai Mass came around, some of the Jagat would kind of rise up and oppress the Talanai Mass, well, the pre-IMAS dudes, which I think is very, very interesting because the Jagat seem so peaceful in some ways, but then if they do kind of go nuts like this dude in the second book, who I'm so excited, Mappo's buddy, they just, you gotta be careful. Their temper, when their temper goes, seems to be worse than Brood's temper. But we get that kind of sequence, and also the expression that, it's a part of whatever species just shows up. There at least are some that will rise and try to dominate the others, and we saw that also with Calor. I thought, what an amazing intro to that guy. We get in this same scene, lots of exposition in this scene, that Silver Fox says that the Talanai Mass, really their whole purpose, and I think we already kind of knew this, but their whole purpose was to be in this fight against the Jagat. They were sick of being worked down, kind of sent to these crappy lands worked as slaves, and then they rose up against these Jagged, and actually the tyrants, and actually had some Jagged tyrants help them out with it. But then again, the prologue, they were making sure none of that happened again, and even kind of committed this genocide against all of the Jagged, peaceful or not, just as a kind of a way to really stamp out any even possibility for that, and kind of take that weight upon themselves, even if it's cold-blooded, kind of taking that upon them as a service for the people out of them. And that's a tricky line to kind of talk about in a book, because man, we've seen some awful things too, and it's, we're never for genocide. So it just the handling of it is very interesting by Steven Erikson. And even if they are tied to the Jagged, and since they feel that the Jagged, there's a Jagged person or whatever you'd call them in kind of at the heart of what's happening in the Panian domain, now they have a target. But if there's also this earlier K'chain Shamal matron that is there, that is something that they really have to worry about, even more than if the Jagged is there. So I just can't wait to see what happens with that. They also kind of understand that there's a third power, a third influence that is manipulating both the Panians and the K'chain Shamal, which I think we assume that's just the crippled god, right? And it's just getting elevated and elevated, and things are looking worse and worse and worse. And that's when I love this. Kruppa sort of audaciously claims that nobody should be worried because he is there to stand between them and the unknown enemy. And this just causes Kaladin Brood to lose his temper, because Kruppa is just this annoying guy to everyone, and Kaladin Brood demands proof that Kruppa can do anything. Kruppa keeps kind of getting under his skin, and it sounds like Brood tries to just end Kruppa right there, smashing down, causing this ripple effect that goes on for miles and splits mountains and all that kind of stuff. Everyone goes flying. Everyone from miles around understands something has happened, and that some of them recognize that it's probably Brood with his hammer. But then Kaladin or Kruppa is just standing there right in front of him, sort of dusting off his cloak. Nothing hit him. And this really kind of expresses to me, at least, that Kruppa, if we didn't already know that, is the real deal in at least some ways, that he has an elder god on his side. And that's pretty cool. We cut to Murillo and Call far away witnessing this, and kind of the effect of this temper tantrum that Brood has had. Murillo assumes that it was Calor that caused the temper, but Call gives him one other guess. Who else could make somebody as frustrated as that than Kruppa? Which I thought that was hilarious. There's also another bit of notice in this chapter placed on the copper items around that the Maiba has. And I get more and more curious about these things, because just as I was curious about the torques that Picker had, these copper items are clearly doing more than it would seem. Whiskey Jack realizes that the poison affecting Burn must be the crippled god. Dujek isn't thrilled about that, And what we know of the crippled god from the legends is certainly nothing good, or what they know. I wish I could go back. Maybe I should and read some of the kind of the little blurbs at the start of the chapters in the first couple books, because I know of at least a couple times regarding it was about the crippled god, right? It was about Kruppa kind of learning or researching it, but I can't totally remember. It would be cool to go back. Once this series is done, for sure I'll go back, if not earlier. Flipping through, what else? Oh yeah, Whiskey Jack in the same scene also expresses faith in Kruppa, assuming that an elder god certainly does stand in front of him. But not only that, he's the most intelligent man ever, this Kruppa. And we already knew that he was witty and things, but it's kind of expressed that even if an ascendant or someone needs something done, Kruppa is the one to seek understanding from. After all, he brought them this trade guild that is doing this caravan work. He brought the Maiba the copper rings from the original Rivi. He is the only one Silver Fox really deliberates with, and has outwardly expressed his position now as the roadblock in front of the crippled god, which I find super duper cool. Even though there are many, many people that seem like the core of everything. I know at one point I said Perrin is clearly the center of it, and then I said Silver Fox, and I've thought Talk, I've thought Karuli, I've thought all these different things, but it's probably Krull, right? Whatever is under Krull's influence must be kind of the central thing, or all three of these elder gods, really. So it's just so many things to hold on to, but I am all here for it. Kruppa is this most brilliant person, but if there's any next that's one step behind him, it is Quick Ben as a close number 2, and I do love that as well. They know about they don't know the details of what is happening down in the south that's tearing things up, this unknown force with Lady Envy and them. But, really cool as we are seeing that close soon. It looks like we're going to converge pretty soon here. I hope so. The Maiba keeps having these dreams running away from wolves and suspects them being sent from Silver Fox to kill her in her sleep. Silver Fox, there's a whole bunch of scenes happening here, but Silver Fox does not want her mother knowing about the Talan Eye. And I think that's such an interesting connection. Corlat doesn't like, remember Corlat the Tistandi expresses to Whiskey Jack that she doesn't like really what Silver Fox is doing, and expresses that the nightmares do in fact seem to stem from Silver Fox. Not so much from Tattersail's side, but from Nightchill. Or the Thelumin, which is such an interesting link. I don't know why. Seems interesting though. It's just another question. I think I have some little theories with it, but probably ones that I wouldn't even be able to express adequately. But I like that sometimes in these books, instead of giving you the answers, the author will at least kind of point you. He'll give you this big cone. He says, look this way. The answer's over here. And I think that's just so great, the way he does it. Really expertly crafted in that way. We're almost done here. It ends with another expression of what everybody seems to know. If anybody should have been the new emperor, it probably should have been Whiskey Jack and not Lysine. That is a part of what would have qualified him and people just love that guy. It really kind of reminds me, I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I think I have. But every time I see this guy, it kind of reminds me of Germanicus, who in ancient Rome at the time of Tiberius, I think Germanicus was the father or uncle of Caligula, and he was this well-beloved Roman general up in most of the Roman forces. They had to be all over the place, but this massive group of them, or this massive proportion of them, were up on kind of holding the German front up north. And he was up there. He was a hero. He collected back these the Roman eagles, so that made him a hero, because that was a terrible thing to lose them, because everything was kind of tied into their spirituality and religion and the gods, and finding those again was a good omen for Rome. And he did that, and he had this little boy, Little Boots, that people would kind of bug, and then everyone, I think, sort of thought that they had their loyalty with this guy, and it caused Tiberius to have some major trust issues, so much that he had to go onto his own island. And we haven't really seen Lacine much, but I sure get this Tiberius Germanicus kind of connection or vibe going on. And I think it's interesting, just an interesting note as well. Germanicus eventually dies under some suspicious things. And how and what better, it's so interesting that Tiberius would kind of adopt this guy who really he feared in some ways. At least that's how I kind of think of that. He adopts Caligula and kind of poisons him, at least a little bit, and kind of grooms him into being the next emperor. And a part of what follows Caligula is that this stigma, or this thing that even though he's emperor, he's not like his father. He's no Germanicus. Anyway, I think that's interesting. But that's going on a tangent. You have to be okay with me doing that a little bit. We end with Crone, this great raven matriarch's arrival to Brood, and telling him that the moonspawn is in place, kind of passed unseen somehow. I don't know if that means they have some cloaking device, or they are way up north, or way up in the atmosphere somehow. I don't know what's up with that, but they are in the right place where they need to be, and I'm so excited for that all to go down. Also, Crone expresses, telling Brood that there is formidable sorcery going down against this southern enemy of the Panian Daemon, walls of ice, a warren of Jagged, and they know now for sure that the seer is not what he seems. And it ends the chapter with a bit of a rebuke from Crone that Brood needs to take her as an example in the future. And by that, she means that unlike him, she doesn't have temper tantrums. Awesome chapter. Not really super dynamic and exciting in a lot of ways, but good for kind of landing on our feet a little bit. And maybe clearing up a few things. I will see you on the next chapter, chapter 16, where I believe this is the one that really leveled me. I personally am up to chapter 20. I'm not quite done this sub-book yet, but man, there's some doozies coming up. Some heavy ones too. And if you've made it this far, please consider giving a like. And also subscribe and leave a comment if you would like. And I will see you on the next one. Thanks.